Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm doing another build today. This time it's a fire build, and with some commentary for you guys after some requests. This is going to be probably the easiest build of the builds that I'm showcasing, just for the sake of some of the newer people who are having some trouble with the game and just sort of having some trouble getting through the early game, I guess. Um, you know. So if you like what you see, let me know, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm basically just using Fan of Flames to clear the room. You start in a corner, use Fan of Flames, clear the room, and then you can just go in and take out the spawner. Obviously, I'm taking the Ice Force cap because it's going to come in handy later. And here, same idea, right? Clear. I'll pick up a exotic pet, which is the rock worm. Can shoot fireballs, which are pretty cool. And yeah, just do the same thing. Just actually let the rock worm do a lot of the heavy lifting. You can tank for me really well. Exotic pets are great for that reason alone. Even like, cause what's more important, right? It's kind of like staying alive. I know a lot of people like to do challenge runs and stuff, but for the sake of this run, all we really need is Fireball, Fan of Flames, and Fire Form, and then we can kind of just like turn off our brain. But the better like you set up for it, like it kind of is like, you know, you gotta be a bit careful at the beginning. Don't pick rooms that are just gonna end your run before it starts. Don't take on fire immunes or. Luckily the early game is it's pretty okay. I mean, between Fireball and Fan of Flames you have tons of area of effect. You kind of don't really have single target damage though, so some of those higher HP enemies like, I guess orcs kind of are a bit of an issue. But once you get Lightning Form and then Fire Form, you can use Fire Form and then use Fan of Flames to create this weird synergy where it just kind of shoots everywhere. And yes, it feels very broken and buggy, and I specifically chose this build as my first commentary video for no reason other than the fact that it is a very low-tech build that you don't really have to think about. I could obviously do more with more detailed builds, but like as you can see, it's like during this form you have 100% resistant to 3 different damage types, which are very common in the early game. If you get knocked out of it for whatever reason, you can always turn it back on. It starts with 3 charges. And later on in the build we get Purity, which will give us immunity to status effects, which would knock you out otherwise. And then we get Pillar of Flames to deal with Mordred in the end. But like you just pick up a bunch of skills from here on out, get the upgrades. I think the next one we're gonna get is Fan of Flames upgrade to deal with fire immune enemies. Yeah, exactly. So now we can deal with fire immune enemies, and also we'll deal double damage to enemies that are neutral. And so we can be like attacked by arcane. We can be attacked by poison, dark, ice specific is a pretty nasty one. That's kind of one our like core weakness is ice attacks. So frost spew enemies early in the game can really cause this build a bunch of trouble. So you want to avoid those. The Geometer Staff is great here. This gives us more area of effect, more range, which affects the cone radius of Fan of Flames. Makes it even more potent. And so from here it's kind of just like you know, find the rift that the enemies aren't really much of a threat to you. Pick HP, get as much HP as you can, because the build kind of does rely on tanking a bit of damage yourself, especially when you get to the later realms. There's no way to really like prepare for everything, so the best kind of solution is to have lots of HP, and that way you can sort of deal with things. So picking hearts early in the game or even mid game or whatever is fine. In fact, it's like you don't really, with this build specifically, you don't really need the gear too much. Like having gear is obviously better, but like not having gear isn't a game changer. And yeah, so like just another heart. The enemies here are no threat, so I can just take this room for free, basically. And that's basically the story. I wouldn't really call this a speed run. I mean, it's a pretty fast build in terms of like getting things done, clearing rooms, not taking damage at the same time. And I'm sure I could do it faster. I'm just kind of like showcasing the build. So as you can see, like, right, like no one is even afraid. They're afraid to even approach us when we're in fire form. And we'll pick up Arc Sorcerer first as our first skill, because really all we need is damage, and this thing gives us damage and range, and it increases the radius of our attack, turning this room into. And like the thing you'll see is that like with this build, like as you get deeper into the realms, like the realms get faster, and if you're, as long as you're avoiding your weaknesses. There's a fire wizard there and a burning satyr. I'm not afraid of those guys. I'm actually kind of curious about how many hits they take. Not too many. And yes, I can be poisoned, although it's not a big deal, right? Just take the Fey plate. More HP is always good. We'll take Disintegrator. Just for dealing with shielded enemies. It's a good way to get their shield stripped before you engage. Spell Sniper will increase the range of our Fan of Flames even further. So now it feels like we're taking up a quarter of the room with each blast, which is pretty absurd. One thing I guess I forgot to mention is that with Fan of Flames you can like sort of target beyond walls, so it effectively turns into a blind casting blink, like a ignoring line of sight type of check, which is pretty cool for getting around like a lot of crowded areas and like rooms which are otherwise very cramped and hard to get around in. You can easily move through them with Fan of Flames and Fire Form. It's kind of like you're a fire ghost, I guess. But sure, right? Like pick whatever loot you can get that improves, but don't go into rooms that counter you too hard, like ice rooms and stuff. But like here is just fine. It's like mostly fire enemies and stuff. Just nothing too crazy. And yeah, very simple. Like brain dead, absolutely brain dead build, right? Like I should probably not even be sharing this with you guys, but like I wanted to share it just because like there's a lot of new people who think the game is really hard and stuff, and like there's no like, you know, like there's no way no one's telling, and people are like telling them, oh, this game is so easy and stuff, and you don't need to, and you're dumb or whatever, right? Like, but like this is the kind of stuff they're talking about when they say the game is easy, right? Like if you know what to pick, you don't even have to think. It's just that easy, right? Like so yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm showcasing the build mainly. It's just for the new guys to see what it's like. And yeah, you'll take a bit of damage, right? Like you obviously take a bit of damage, but like at this point we're just like clearing rooms. We're not really thinking, we're looking more at, we check if the room is like viable, and we check if the rewards are decent, and even if the rewards aren't even that good, we'll take the room, and like nothing scares us anymore, right? Now that we have purity, we are immune to status effects, and like even these guys who would normally petrify, right? I'll let them get close enough to petrify me, and they do 9 damage, and then I get clarity, and then I turn it, just blast them all the way again. Easy. Fiery Judgement here and Starfire are both good. They just increase damage. Prince of Ruin, sure. Not really, like we don't really need it, right? It's kind of like 4 SP for turning single, like more AoE type of thing, which is nice obviously, but we don't really need more AoE, do we? I mean, we could get it probably. We have this points, but there's still a few more things we need to get, and we're at realm 18. So we'll take a room which has, like I'm not even looking at the enemies here. I think the Storm Knights might be an issue. But yeah, tons of eyes, right? Like we can deal with them pretty quick. Oh, and these guys are a bit of an issue as well. $100 HP. See, this is kind of like the reason why you want to have lots of HP, so you can go through these scenarios and not have to worry too much about getting killed. Because the enemies at these high levels will find ways to survive most of your attacks. So I'll get Pillar of Fire here, just so I have a solution to Mordred, and I will extend Purity. We'll fight Ophan, who is normally very, very terrifying. But because of this build, I can clear out most of his minions like right away. Without his minions, Ophan has nothing to distribute damage to, and he goes down really quick too. Yeah, then Mordred fight. So usually, yeah, you can deal with big AoEs and stuff, but the premise behind it is if you can just one-shot him on every turn he revives, he doesn't get a turn to act, and now he teleported too far away. But that's okay. Alright, I'll try to get closer. And up here, I could just mana potion, just so I have. Pillar of Fire only has 4 charges. And Mordred has 4 reincarnations. So you needs at least 1 potion. But either way, it's super fast, right? Like this is the build. Try it out, check it out, have fun. Good night.